Alright, welcome back to the podcast. This is the eighth episode, and today we're going to be talking about the Nazi youth. Ridha, take us away with your question.
All right. To what extent did the Nazi education system and youth organizations shape the belief, values, and identities of German children during the rule of Adolf Hitler? And how does propaganda, fear, influence, and expectation come into play? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I feel like when you're young, you're easily influenced. So like using fear as like a bigger factor, like and it just like increases like fuel to the fire. Like it just makes them like want to follow him more.
And also, children were easily influenced as their mind wasn't fully developed yet.
And
so
also,
it was
like,
a better place to build a base on.
I feel like that was a master plan, though. Like using children as like
What'd you say?
like you can also use children later on when they grow up as your
when you're brainwashed.
Yes, brainwashing. It's like sleeper agents.
It's basically
like
installing like an ideology.
You know, like spy movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so like children were constantly like surrounded by the Nazi ideology. They heard it in schools, saw the poster. So like basically the children were like constantly surrounded by the Nazi ideology. Like they saw it everywhere, saw it in schools, heard it about it in schools. They heard it from the teachers. They knew that whatever their teacher is saying is correct. That's what they're taught, right? This is like the children's taught. So yeah, it's just that a way of teaching.
But also, some children joined the organization because of because they seemed exciting to them. They seemed exciting and fun. Although most of them definitely joined because of fear and pressure, or simply expectation from society.
Yeah. Most parents like would expect you to support like an ideology that they want. So enforcing your child like, oh, you should probably do this. This is for the better of your country, which wasn't. But
yeah,
eventually though, participation eventually became impossible to avoid, mandatory.
Yeah. Also, like they were like not just educating at this time; they're like trying to shape how they think. They're changing their thinking, basically brainwashed, like Jaden said.
Brainwashing ideology.
Yeah.
Also, this perfect to bring up like the idea of propaganda, which is when like you push a certain bias or story.
Speaking of propaganda, a major way of propaganda, a major way of brainwashing actually that Hitler used was the Nazi youth organizations.
Yeah.
So what
for the guys? For the guys.
What was the Nazi?
The Hitler Youth was created to train young Germans to become loyal supporters of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi state.
Oh, yeah, that answers my question. This answers my question.
It's like highly recommended or like enforced for men, and then while the Nazi women would be like trained. I forgot what it was called, but they were trained for to be like future mothers supporting these Nazi ideologies. So.
Anybody knows what like the organizations included, like camping or anything?
Oh, I think I remember
Organizations included like camping trips, sports competitions, and like hiking. I don't know what else they added.
They included like stuff like songs, rallies, outdoor activities, and I'm pretty sure uniforms too.
Yes, I remember this.
This looked like an adventure to young children. So
yeah.
That's like
it was a way for them to belong to something important. But basically behind all of these activities were propaganda and control.
Yes, exactly.
When you let like a bunch of other girls use a bunch of other people, such as boys and girls, using these uniforms, it just makes you feel somewhat at home. So these organizations such as like the Hitler Youth and the League of Girls was like majority of like
and like we said at the start, these were used to target children because they were easier to influence.
You know what was the quote Hitler used to say when people used to ask him that they're not gonna come to his side? What did Hitler say during that time?
He himself said that when an opponent says, "I will not come over to your side," he would respond by saying, "Your child already belongs to us already." And that quote would show how important children were to the Nazi regime. They were a big part of it in their manpower.
Basically, bait.
Yeah.
Basically, bait.
Basically, yeah.
Bait, their manpower, their soldiers.
Also, if you notice one thing, if the children goes, the parent also goes with them. That's one thing too.
So basically, like majority of it was just pushed by like back when World War One finished, Germany was like forced to like basically say sorry for starting the war when it wasn't like entirely their fault, which caused a lot of problems and the setup for the Treaty of Versailles, which caused stuff like
Actually, I just remembered something. Earlier, you talked about how back then they were separated by gender in their learnings, and how like the boys would learn up to become
yeah, using the Treaty of Versailles,
they would get military training. They get physical fitness, discipline, and obedience. The girls joined the League of German Girls.
Oh, to help
they were taught
to help
domestic skills. Yes,
soldiers,
like you
yeah.
said earlier.
Makes sense.
there was many times where people or groups were divided, especially genders, and especially many Jews lived in Germany at the time. So after the Treaty of Versailles,
Yes, they were divided, but they believed that boys should become soldiers, and girls should become the mothers who supported the future of the German race.
basically spreading the ideology to
Yes.
more generations to come. And
Also, what was,
It really shaped their identities at a young age.
yeah. So what happened of the education under the Nazis?
so basically, like Germany had basically lost a lot of territory during
Yeah,
World War One,
They did.
and they were forced to accept blame for the war. And then basically Hitler took this as, oh, this is my chance to blame it on some specific people, take power and abuse it.
Yes, you said the Treaty of Versailles.
The Treaty of Versailles basically said that Germany should pay a bunch of funds to other neighboring countries like allies and stuff, while also giving away some of the things, which at the time was a humiliation for Germany at the time.
But wasn't he legally breaking every single rule that the treaty said?
Yeah, he abused his power by saying, "Oh, this treaty is like not supposed to be here," and that kind of stuff. But it was also to protect him. He literally broke every single rule after that. So when you talk about like organizations, he set them up for like these groups to divide groups, such as like the Hitler Youth and then the League of German Girls, to separate their ideology, but also interconnect it back to his whole propaganda setup.
So you're basically saying that education was no longer about like creativity, critical thinking.
Yeah, it's just wiping.
The one we see at our schools.
They created mazes in order to sort of force them to have one way of thinking.
Yeah, it's a wipe
Instead of allowing
Nazi
instead of
ideology.
allowing those
Nazi
walls to
ideology.
be
That's basically what it is.
instead of allowing learning to basically push those walls down and allow them to have a more spread out way of thinking, to allow creative thinking, force them to have one way thinking of Hitler is great, not the Nazi regime is correct.
When you take a child and the people that they know and love, like their family, their friends, their close relatives, and and they all have a certain ideology, when they enforce it, they feel like left out. So I need to support this. I need to get on this. Sometimes it can be right. So like sometimes this like whole idea of Nazi Germany is right. It's a humiliation towards like other countries. Let's be a better Germany.
We've been talking a whole lot about like child influence. What about adult influence, like the teachers? How were they affected?
Teachers were expected to like support Nazi beliefs. Like many teachers had to join the Nazi organization, and those who refused lost their jobs.
Yeah, I think at the time, I think there was the fact that like you could snitch on your like parents, your teachers, anybody that talked against Hitler,
And you're
which
gonna
made it
get,
somewhat
like-
of a dictatorship. But it wasn't really like he framed it indifferent, like he colored it as something that's like a different type of government, and it's better than all this like communism or capitalism at the time to make Nazi Germany.
That would have been a lot of people who got snitched on because remember the Hitler Youth increased from like ages 10 to 18 in like 1933 to like 1937 before it became mandatory in like 1939.
Speaking of that, yeah, in 1939, the Hitler Youth membership became like mandatory. Children who refused to join were isolated. They were punished or like viewed as disloyal to Germany. I mean, fear not only existed in schools but also inside families. Like Rita said earlier, some children were also encouraged to report parents or teachers who criticized the Nazi government. This really created some distrust and fear within communities, and people really became afraid to speak openly.
Mainly, not, like the Nazi ideology was just you had to support one idea, and you can't push like any other idea. Like, oh, Jews should live in Germany, or Germany is like it was highly nationalistic. So supporting that ideology was like the only way to live back then.
The Nazis, they wanted children to identify themselves like as their loyal followers of Hitler rather than like more independent. So like even children who privately disagreed with Nazi ideas often stayed silent because it's better to stay silent than resist during that time.
And this
especially
really
against Hitler.
connects to the idea of totalitarianism. James,
Italian government is basically tries to control every part of society, politics, education, like media, culture, all every personal belief, like all of that kind of thing. Nazi Germany is one of the most well-known examples of this.
So the conclusion. This reminds us that even in highly controlled societies, not everyone completely accepts propaganda or oppression. This is the
Yeah.
A totalitarian government is basically the government that controls like every bit of society, like politics, education, media, culture, personal beliefs, and Nazi Germany is like the most well-known example of this.
All right, so I think that wraps it up. We talked about ideology, propaganda. We definitely talked about
how it affects the youth, how they were brainwashed at a young age to follow Hitler's beck and call. And it really reminds of how at risk youth are, especially in a government, in the totalitarianism government. Yeah. Is that all?
I think that's it.
that wraps up
All right.
episode 8. All right.
Yeah, that'll be episode 8. I guess we'll see you guys for episode 9, and we'll be talking about technology during World War II.
All right.
All right.
Peace.